A warrior and a sage? What? Welcome to the Joyous Expansion Podcast. I'm your host, Brett Dupree, scouring the globe to bring you stories of courage, passion, and resilience. If I could sum up this podcast into one word, I would use empathy. Now let's get inspired. Welcome to episode 93 of the Joyous Expansion Podcast. I am your host once again, Brett Dupree. Today I talked to Sathyaraja, somebody who was very influential on me in my early years of personal growth and development. Very honored to have him on, but first I talk about what's going on in my life, because if I can't be vulnerable in what's going on in my life, how can I expect my guest to be? Well, in the 93rd episode, I think it's fun to talk about my past, who I am, and where I began. And I'm going to talk about my time at Warrior Sage. Why Warrior Sage? Because that's where I first saw Sathyaraja, who is a part of Warrior Sage, which is still going on. Something that I kind of mistaken, that accelerated evolution is different than Warrior Sage, but it's all part of a great whole. Basically, Warrior Sage is this it's one of those personal development companies that help people grow. A lot of it's based off the work of David Deida. Well, David Deida was one of Sathyaraja's mentors. And the way I discovered Warrior Sage is I was listening to BJ Shea on the afternoon at Radio for Guys, 100.7. Oh, man, I don't even remember what it's called anymore. When it was called The Wolf, what it got replaced by. In BJ Shea Afternoon Experience, he went to this workshop where he learned more about being a man, and he was very comfortable with it. And at the time, I was very afraid in life. Very afraid. I just had extreme social anxiety. Every day was almost torture. It was like, I remember thinking to myself the best thing that could happen in my life would be getting a girlfriend, but the worst thing that happened in my life is getting a girlfriend, because the anxiety of trying to keep a relationship was just overwhelming at the time. So first, BJ talked about the book, The Way of the Superior Man, which did help a lot of my perspective. The idea of superior man is not being superior to other people, but how to be superior to yourself. And it has a lot of masculine versus feminine things, which I don't know how helpful they are to me now, but at the time, they were. Because it got me into this mindset, instead of worrying about why women don't want to be with me, to work on myself to be somebody who can just be someone a woman wants to be with. And the more that I work with myself, the higher quality of woman who serves me. It also got me the idea of interdependent relationship. The idea is, instead of one person being above the other, it's kind of like each person serving the other for each other's growth. We talked about this workshop he went to, and I remember going to the opening event, and about, I would say, 40% of the people left before it was over. In my mind, Satyan was on a stage, on a big chair. It looked like he was on a throne. And the thing that got me going to Warrior Sage is one of the people got up and talked about the amazing experience he had in life changes. And the freedom that guy had when he was talking was something that I wanted. I wanted to feel that free. And so I signed up for the Illumination Intensive, which is a dyad type situation where you just do this meditation with somebody. And I had some wonderful experiences there. And I also did 2 other courses, Living Ecstasy and Sex, Passion, and Enlightenment, which were good for helping break me out of my shell. And I gained a lot from it. I gained a lot from working with Warrior Sage. I was part of 2 men's groups as part of it, and it was much better than the Mankind Project's men's groups, which I went to a couple times, and it just seemed, Mankind Project seemed to me about a bunch of guys being in the woods, being silly, giving each other weird names, and just playing around on what it's like to be a man, almost reinforcing those men's stereotypes. Where one thing I appreciate about the Warrior Sage is, how can I be a better service to the world? And we each try to work on that for each other, give each other advice, be ear to ear to lean on. I found a positive experience, and I never felt it was silly. Like every time I tried to go to the Mankind Project. That was just, if it helps you, that's awesome. I'm just saying that was not for me. It was just not where I was in my personal development. But if it helps you, amazing. I didn't really do much after that. I kind of became broke and just couldn't justify. Plus, I wanted to do my own thing. That's when I really decided to launch Joyous Expansion and write my book and hire book writing coaches and things of that nature. But I'm always grateful for all of Warrior Sage has done for me. I'm still in contact with a couple of people from Warrior Sage, and every time I meet somebody who's did that, they are great and special people. It was a good time. One thing I will say is I understand the draw of workshops after watching The Vow, which The Vow is this interesting video about Nexium, this cult type thing. It's not that much different than Warrior Sage in the sense it's a group of people coming together and trying to grow themselves. But where Warrior Sage was really working on growing people, Nexium was about this one guy creating a sex cult and manipulating people. It's one thing that I always appreciate about Warrior Sage is how they really preached about empowerment, how Satyan wanted people to walk with him rather than lead and control them. Something I truly felt at that time and appreciated, because in the state that I was in at that time, one thing I watched when I was watching The Vow and watching the initiations and watching all the groups, and I could see that at the right time, I easily could have been sucked into that. I easily could. I know I keep on reading online. It's like, how do people allow themselves to be manipulated? But when you feel that much fear in life and then something takes that away, you'll do almost anything for that. And you'll also want to help. You want to help everyone else. It's like a positive drug. The experience of going to a workshop, being afraid, not knowing all these people, and then by the end, feeling closer to so many of these people at this time, closer than a lot of your own family members. And the amount of love and just joy and everything at the end, that after seminar feeling is the best, some of the best feelings I've ever had in my entire life. If it was a drug, I would take it. I mean, probably. I mean, it was amazing, that love, connection, and joy. And I could see how easily addictive that would be. I guess this is my positive aspect of it. My message is every time you look at one of the people who gets sucked into something negative of that kind, like multi-level marketing schemes, they really play on your insecurities. And I'm happy that Warrior Sage didn't play on mine or played on them in ways to help me want to buy more of their product. But I always felt served. I always felt like I got my money's worth, and I was very happy with what I've got. It was good for me. I mean, some people probably feel differently because nobody's happy with everything. But I'm just saying that when people do get sucked into a negative cult like that, like they say in The Vow, is nobody goes in to join a cult. People are manipulated. And as somebody who is lucky to have found a group that was truly desired to empower and not manipulate me and create a cult, if you will, I truly appreciate that. And so I'll just say, when you see someone like that, you need to give them empathy and love, because when you get that freedom, that feeling, it's addictive. It's amazing. And so I don't know why I kind of went on this, because I just watched The Vow not too long ago, and it did remind me a lot of my time at Warrior Sage with some of the things they said, even though it wasn't as misogynistic as The Vow. Holy crap, did he go pure misogyny? And some of them, that was just devastating. I mean, heck, my biggest fear at the time was being in front of a crowd full of people. And through Living Ecstasy, at one point, I wrote and performed a song. That was just like, holy crap, I could not believe I did that. So I thought it was all good fun. I truly appreciate Warrior Sage. And now you're going to listen to the leader of Warrior Sage. Satyan is the founder and CEO of Transformational Academy, Warrior Sage. Satyan has impacted over 100,000 students from over 50 countries around the world. After 35 years of rigorous study and practice in both creating enlightened business growth and developing higher consciousness, Satyan works privately with CEOs, high-impact individuals, executive teams who have mastered accomplishments in the financial public world and now want a deeper balance, illumination, and self-realized equilibrium that he calls peak experience. Satyan synthesizes Eastern wisdom and Western practicality and combines the power of the warrior and wisdom of the sage to guide leaders worldwide into their highest self-knowledge, self-expression, and impact. Now here is my interview with Sathyaraja. Hello, Satyan, and welcome to my podcast.
Thanks so much for having me here. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate your time. Can you give the listeners a brief introduction to who you are?
I'm a facilitator, trainer. I lead trainings for organizations and I lead trainings for CEOs. I basically help people discover the path of the warrior sage within themselves to help unleash the warrior of spirit, the enlightened warrior within themselves. Also help them tap into the great depth of wisdom that everyone already has within them, what I call the sage. And so I help leaders awaken these really powerful qualities within themselves so that they can do their missions in the world with great congruence and impact and potency.
Awesome. So is this something that you're interested in growing up? Or who was Satyan before this?
I've been doing this all my life, teaching people through martial arts, personal growth, human potential. It's been my way of life for 40 years now. So.
Was it something that your parents got you into?
I was inspired by my teachers who started me in martial arts, and their inspiration led me into wanting to become a supporter and helper of other people.
Oh, cool. What were your major roadblocks into going into that?
Well, I had a lack of self-confidence. I had a lack of belief in myself. I had a lack of physical capacity. I was very, if you will, thin and meager and non-athletic. And to enter something like a martial art way of life in school is quite full on. Those were some of my main challenges. I didn't believe in myself. And I was very blessed to have mentors and teachers who believed in me until I could believe in myself.
Oh yes, having a good mentor and teacher is very important. So how were they able to provide you with that self-confidence?
Well, I believe it has a lot to do with the fact that they saw me for who I was, their ability to see my truth, the ability to see that what am I here to do, and that they were supporting me, and what am I here to do in the world. And I believe that dedication of them taking a look at who I am, what my capacities are, and supporting that was priceless. You know, it's helped me become who I am today. I believe that we all could use mentors, coaches, and guides in our life who can sometimes see us way deeper than we can see ourselves and become even more, how can I say, give us a sense of who we are even before we get a chance to see who we are. That's the purpose of a good coach and mentor, is to be there for you until you discover you have it within yourself, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. From what I understand, you first started to go into teaching martial arts yourself. Is that how you got started into this?
Yes, that's how I started, yeah.
What made you want to go beyond just teaching martial arts?
Well, I was also very much interested in healing arts. You know, in the Shaolin Kung Fu tradition, the valuable piece that as martial artists that we learn self-defense and how to harm people, it's also very important to learn the yin and yang side. The other side of that is learning to be there for people, to help them, to heal them, to support their healing journey. So that came side by side with that. And when I was younger, I also started, when I was 17, I entered Shiatsu College and studied Shiatsu, acupuncture, Chinese medicine. So that was also a parallel journey to martial arts, is the healing arts. And again, I've been on that now since I've been a teenager. And I think the most valuable thing around all of this is I've always learned through all my life experience that the best thing to do is, the best way to live life is to live a life where I'm of, of service. So that's what I really love, you know?
Yeah, what do you think the main value of living in service?
Well, you get to move outside of your own egoic constraints. Sometimes our ego can be narcissistic and self-absorbed and constantly looking at who am I, will you like me? Will you love me? Will you accept me? All these particular things. Always seeking some type of reinforcement for our ego. But service dissolves the ego, not through harshness, but through making a difference in other people's lives. You start to forget. You start to forget about yourself. You start to forget about yourself in an egoic way, and you start to see yourself as someone who's making a difference in other people's lives. And that is a whole other level of fulfillment, a whole other level of fulfillment.
So how did you get the idea and drive to start Warrior Sage?
I was challenged by one of my mentors about 20 years ago to take the next step in my evolution. And then by that time, I had done very well with my martial arts schools, and I also had hypnotherapy centers that I was a franchisor for. And my mentor challenged me. My mentor, David Data, challenged me, and he said, you've done all this, you're really good at it, but you're capable of something even more deeper, even more powerful in the world. And he gave me the challenge to step up to, because I was able to do whatever I had done earlier, running martial arts schools with that with ease, because I had done it for many years, by that time, many years. But to be challenged to the next level was really something I knew I had to step into to feel fully alive. I believe it happens to all of us. We can all be really good at things, and we could have had a goal or an aim earlier in life, and that we did so well and we've achieved it, but it no longer holds the same power and the same, if you will, passion now because we've already attained it. So I think that's really important to have that someone within our essence to challenge us, you know.
So what was the biggest challenge in starting Warrior Sage for you?
I don't know if I had a challenge starting Warrior Sage. I don't think I had a challenge. I think I just had a calling and a deep calling and a passion. Yeah, I really don't feel a challenge in that.
One thing I've always been curious about since I have worked and done through some of your Warrior Sage classes, one thing I've always appreciated you for was this desire to have people walk with you rather than you kind of standing on a pedestal and looking up to you as a guru type person. And there's a lot of people who have your charisma and your ability to talk, but they also want followers. So I was always curious about how that cultivated in your teachings, or who you learned that from, or why did you want to do it that way?
One of the dangers on this path of becoming a guide or helping is obviously the egoic fulfillment of feeling like a rock star and feeling like you've helped someone. Well, that can get overblown within ourselves and our ego can get activated. And, there's a part of us I call self-importance. And self-importance shows up in two ways. The one way most of us know about, and that's the aggrandizement of ourselves, being a show-off, braggart, saying I'm this, I'm that, and look at me, I'm enlightened, look at me, I'm smart, I'm powerful, I'm rich, all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another way self-importance shows up, and that is I'm not good enough. Who am I? What am I here for? I'm just a lowly person. Who am I to step up? Either or are forms of the ego in exaggeration. We understand the one that's gregarious and egoic on the outside, right? But the insecure version, not too many of us realize, is also ego. So I believe that when we can learn to not try to be other than who we are, period. We don't have to try to be other than who we are. And at the same time, we can strive to deepen and strengthen ourselves. That's the key. And every time anyone who wants to become a guru, if people want to project guruhood on you, anyone who wants to make you their guru, many times later, when you do something that is just normal and human and not perfect, people like to bust that guru down. They can turn against you. They can all that. So rather than trying to be any type of guru or all-knowing, I've always come to believe that knowledge and wisdom and insight and realizations that come from you, your own realizations, my friend, that come from within you are yours to keep. The ones that come from me to tell you, that's education, but it doesn't awaken you. It can support you. More powerful is your own awakening from your own dive in and your own willingness to do the inner growth. So I believe that that's the key, that nowadays community is the guru, meaning that we all can be reflections, support each other, be positive. Gone is the day where a guru is just for one person, for most of us in this day and age. Although the guru function is still very valuable and supportive in some societies and many societies, I think it's very important that those of us who have lived through those models and are ready for something deeper find a new way where we're finding wisdom with each other, wisdom from the whole rather than from one.
Is that what's going on inside with the transition from more Warrior Sagey to more, what is it, accelerated evolution?
Well, we haven't transitioned at all. That's only a part of Warrior Sage. Accelerated Evolution Academy is just one of the academies that we have. And then we have our international Warrior Sage community, which is led by our members and led by our trainers. So it's not guru-centric. And anyone can be part of that for free, absolutely free, and co-serve each other and be part of a community of people practicing these Warrior Sage philosophies and joining together as friends and coming together in community is really exciting and bonding. And I believe that's the new phase. And so if anyone has a calling for that, you can simply go to warriorsage.com. Right on the front page, there's a way to join our community and to be part of our Warrior Sage trainings, which are totally free around the world. We've created an abundance activation. We've created a relationship activation. We've created an enlightened power activation. So those are three things I recommend everyone have a download and start training so that they can find their own independent path to finding their own inner guru and bonding with other people in a way who are on this path of self-empowerment rather than giving their power away,
Yeah, I really like the way you do teach self-empowerment. I think that's really cool. How do you go about creating your courses and programs?
How do I create them? Well, most of the time it's based on my experience of what's needed for the space. So when we created these activations for community and what we call Warrior Sage dojos, it came from the inspiration that communities that grow together, that do inner practices together, like, if you will, dyads. And, you've done that type of work, inner contemplative work, inner spiritual work. When we do it together, something powerful, really powerful happens. So I believe that's the way to go, That's the way to be. And that's the way we're moving towards now, where wisdom is amongst the whole and not just amongst one person.
Yeah, that's one of the benefits of modern technology, really. Everything is so easily available to us, and we can do a good job of consuming it and then being able to teach it to each other.
You got it. Exactly. Exactly, my friend. And this is the day and age where we got to. This is the time we're in right now is so valuable because it's a very powerful time of the quickening of evolutionary life force on this planet. We've got COVID going on. We've got so many social issues going on, so many things going on. And so I believe that this is the most opportune time right now that we've ever had, in my lifetime at least, to quicken our spiritual, if you will, empowerment, to quicken our awareness of our gifts, and to find out who we are in the world and start offering that up without reservation.
What advice would you give people to step into what you just said?
Download those 3 trainings that I shared about. I would start off most likely with the power activation on warriorsage.com. You just do this with friends and family, and you'll go through a very powerful self-realization, enlightenment process, and you'll find what your own true power is. And you got to take some time aside. It takes a few hours to go through this inner process, and I recommend that you do it with a friend, or at least 1 or 2 friends or family member, either if someone's home with you at home, and if you're in quarantine, to find someone online with, and do that together. By doing the inner work, you just can't lecture yourself into self-realization and empowerment. You have to be willing to do the inner work. And I've created an exact, very powerful program to go from the power of the ego to creating enlightened power. That's all for free. There's nothing to buy. There's no upsells or anything. It's our service to really awaken the warrior sage and everyone out there, especially those who feel that they've got something special to do in the world right now. They've got a mission to do in the world. They feel like they're being called to step up into more empowerment and leadership. Make sure you do the power activation at warriorsage.com.
One thing that I find curious about watching your services change over the years is that the price point is going down on many of them. In fact, a lot of things are free. What was the impetus and or desire to do this?
Well, first of all, the trainings that we have, as I shared, the abundance activation, the power activation, the relationship activation in our international dojo community, we've been on the forefront of human potential now for 20 years, giving workshops and seminars to hundreds of thousands of people around the world globally. And as this year came, I really felt it's time now to give back to community, and not in a profit-oriented way, but in a way where we can really build powerful bonds with other people who are wanting to grow and become stronger in the world. So it was a very natural inspiration that came in my soul and my spirit, and I'm just following it. Of course, our livelihood is made through our other trainings, our corporate trainings, and our work in organizations, and the work I do in mentoring CEOs. But my public work, all this work with Warrior Sage, that's all for free, because it's time now to have self-realization practices be available, not only for a small class of people, but for everyone available. It's also, I feel, very powerful time right now, not only for to grow businesses, more important than businesses. None of us might even have any businesses here in a few years if we destroy the world, right? Right. More important right now is helping us become healthy and whole and become vital leaders, so that we can change the trajectory of this planet from disaster to spirit.
So I'm curious about your current path. What do you enjoy most about it?
I love people. I love seeing people's spirits light up. I love when I see people coming home to themselves. And I really love when I see people finding their purpose, their mission, what they're here for on the planet. And I love supporting them living it fully. So all those things really inspire me.
Do you have any fun transformations that you've helped people? Do you like to share?
Every one of our events, everyone has profound transformations, every single one. I can't really think of one in particular right now, but the transformation is happening now in a collective realm. And I think what's important to realize is there's no such thing as individual transformation now, collective transformation.
And so it's time to really step up into that collective.
You got it.
We are coming to the end of our time together, and the one thing I like to ask my guests is to provide a 1 minute of motivation. You can imagine this as if you have a time machine and you're going back into your 8-year-old self and you want to convey everything you need to live a happy, joy-filled life. But unfortunately, you only have a minute until you're plopped back into the future. Or you can think of it as condensing your entire life's message into a minute. So are you ready?
That's pretty simple. My message is we're here to ignite passion, to live freedom, and to embody love. And I believe we're here to do that, not just for ourselves, but I really feel that we're here to arise together. This is the time to arise together as one human family, one Gaia family, Gaia-centric, one world family, and to recognize that we are one people of the same earth and that we're family with each other, that we're not strangers, but we're actually family. Very valuable now to take a look at each other and see how can I ignite passion in myself and in others? How can I live freedom? How can I help others live more free? How can I not talk about love or read about love? How can I be love, embody love? And how can I do this in a way that we all arise together? That's the essence of what I want to say.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on my podcast. I very much enjoyed listening to how you are taking your learnings as early on, and you had so many teachers and mentors and the power of mentorship that allowed you to take your life to a next level where then not only were you able to step up as a guru, but bring people with you and to walk beside you so that we can all work together to make this world a better place for all of us. So thank you so much for being on my podcast, and thank you so much for everything you do in this world.
Thank you so much, my friend. And great circling around after so many years, eh? I see you online, and I'm always joyful to see you sharing and expressing and offering your gifts to the world. So good strength and love to all that you're doing to make a difference as well, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Satyen, and may your day be special.
All the best. Be well, everyone. Much love. Thank you.
And there you have it, folks. That was my interview with Sathyaraja. You know what's interesting to me? That I did not watch The Vow before I did that interview. I just asked that question about kind of manipulation because that's something I started noticing within the spiritual enlightenment / development group on how people were able to manipulate people. And a lot of it was to spend a lot of money on them. But I noticed some things like the one person down in Brazil, I believe, who created their own compound and sexually assaulted hundreds of women. And so I asked that question because I always thought that was an interesting part of what Satyen taught. And I do truly appreciate his community-driven support of service. That is one thing I always liked about Satyen. And what I learned from him is loving and service. I try to bring that to almost everything I do. In fact, that's one thing I bring to Toastmasters as the leader of the Lightworker Toastmasters. I always try to make sure that I am in service. When I do my evaluations, I always try to make sure that I'm not just in service to the person I'm evaluating. I am in service to everyone who is listening to me. And I kind of strive for every one of my speeches that I give, no matter in what format it is, where it serves people to the best of my ability. Living in service to others, you gain so much back. So if you're ready to take your life to the next level, because Satyen's elite clientele know they are ready for the next level of integrated fullness and a life vibrant with purpose, passionate intimacy, connection, significance, and transcendence. So if you are ready, Satyen's fearless and heartfelt style will transform your untapped potentialities into strengths and the full spectrum of your life into peak existence. You can go to warriorsage.com where you could check out 3 free activations: the abundance activation, the relationship activation, and the power activation. warriorsage.com. There you have it, folks. That is episode 93 of the Joyous Expansion Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Just know that I love you very much because you're listening to this. But if you want to love me even more, like, subscribe, leave a review, whatever you do, share it and care it. You can find me at joyousexpansion.com. You can find more episodes at pod.joyousexpansion.com. You can find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter at Joyous Expansion. You can also find me on Facebook. It is Increase Your Joy because my SEO game sucks. Once again, you can also email me for any reason at BRE2Ts, DUPR2Es at joyousexpansion.com. And of course, I am Brett Dupree, your champion of authentic joy, joyous expansion life coach, and catalyst of transformation for the Church of Awesome, reminding you once again to be love, to be joy, to be awesome. Now play that jingle.
JoyousExpansion.com. JoyousExpansion.com. Come and say hello to Brett Dupree. He is an inspirational life coach, good for you and good for me. He turned my life from grey to blue, I'm sure he'll do the same for you. Get in touch and you'll see your life will change dramatically. JoyousExpansion.com. JoyousExpansion.com. Yeah.